Hey guys, Average Joe here, and I am back with another lesson learned video about the 552 Series 1. This is exclusively about the crossbar assemblies and the locking pins, so that you can understand, if you're interested in a locking pin kit, you can understand some of the variation that we've encountered across many dumbbells. When I originally designed the locking pins using the dumbbell sets that I had access to, we thought that we had, the design that would fit everything. And what we found was that over time, the original manufacturer, and this is not going to surprise you, made changes. Not to the general shape of the pin. As you can see, these pins are pretty much the same shape. What they did, though, is they made small changes that do affect how you would use the upgrade, the locking pin upgrade kit. So I'm going to show you first 4 locking pins that came from 4 different sets of 552 Series 1 and Series 2. And how they're different. Some of it will be very obvious. You can see here, for example, the height of the body of the pin, but you can also see the difference in the height of the shaft itself. Here's one that'll probably be, let's see, this one a little more, this one's a little more obvious. You can see that shaft is in fact about a 1/16 of an inch longer, or shorter on this one. Here's one that's really obvious. So you can see here that those shafts are much, they differ in height quite a bit. Let me try to zoom that in. Okay, so you can see that they differ in height quite a bit. And basically, this is because when they were manufacturing crossbar assemblies, or what I've been calling the crossbar assemblies, they made changes to these assemblies that made them slightly different. For example, here you can see this one uses nuts. And on the back side, it's got these screws, but they're longer screws. On this one, it uses bosses, no nuts. So inside here, there are 2 brass bosses that hold much shorter screws in. The pocket in here is deeper than the pocket right here. So you can actually see the depth difference on those pockets, which means that pin heights are going to be different. Even on this is a cast part, looks cast, and then partly machined. But this is a stamped steel part. And the depths of these parts are a little bit different. The overall shape is a little bit different. The thickness of the metal is a little bit different. And even the way that they install is a little different. You can see here on this one, on the older, or I don't know if this is older actually, I think this is actually the newer version when they began stamping these plates, because this carried over to the Series 2. But you can see here, I can easily put this plate underneath the plastic crossbar when I'm installing them. On the newer version, or I shouldn't call it the newer version, on this version, you can see that you can't just put that into this gap. You have to actually use your hand to bend this back carefully and slip the disc in place, because the tolerance here is tighter on this particular style of the crossbar assembly. This appears on both Nautilus and Bowflex. So I think that this is the earliest model. I think this is the way that they were doing it originally, and they probably had found that, that for whatever reason wasn't working out for them, and they went to more of the stamped style with this style of crossbar assembly, because the 552 Series 2 uses this style, not this style. And what does that mean for you? Well, when I took a look at this customer's crossbar assembly, and let me show you here. When I took a look at this customer's crossbar assembly, the height of the pin was much shorter. It was, let's see, it was this pin. This is the pin from this crossbar assembly. This is the pin from this crossbar assembly. And you can see very clearly, again, look at the height difference. So here's what we decided to do. When we manufacture these pins, we make this height taller than it needs to be. It's at the maximum for the for what we've seen. So when you get this locking pin kit and you install it in your crossbar assembly, and you install that onto your handle, and you use it in your weights, if you find that you're having difficulty where the dial does not want to unlock, it doesn't want to spin, chances are that you need to file the pin down just a little bit. In this case, I filed this customer's pin down about 1/16 of an inch from the original height. And now it is at a height where it's working fine. It engages and disengages the way that it needs to. So my point here is that one of the lessons that we learned was that the locking pins and the crossbar assemblies vary from one production run, one batch of 552 Series 1s to the next. The pin itself will always fit the cavity in your crossbar assembly. The pin body is fine, but the pin height, you may need to adjust the pin height downward, shorten it, to use with your 552 Series 1. Now on the 552 Series 2 and on the 1090, we have not seen that yet. The pins work the way that they're supposed to work. But on the Series 1, there's a lot more variability, a lot more sets that are just not the same. They use slightly different components. So even though the pin itself will fit inside the crossbar assembly, you may have to adjust the pin height downward on your set, like I did on this one, to make it work. On my set, it's a slightly different length than on this set. Okay, so that's another lesson learned in the 552 Series 1. Anybody looking to do a locking pin upgrade, understand that these have been designed to fit the maximum number of dumbbells. But on your specific set, you may have to tailor this pin height for your set in order for it to work properly. And you can do that like I did by filing or sanding the tip until you get the results that you want. It's a little more involved than the disc fix kit, which is a really smooth install. I think 99% of you, maybe 99.99% of you, you'll just install these locking pins and start using your equipment. It's for that handful of you that may run into an issue where you have to take a look at the pin height and make sure that it's correct for your set. And one of the ways, by the way, that you can do that is simply by looking. You can see here, you know, his pin height versus the factory, my you know, out of the box locking pin height. And you can see here that there's about a 1/16 of an inch that needs to come off of this pin in order to match the height of his pin. Okay, so that's it about locking pins. It really only applies at the moment to the 552 Series 1 owners. We haven't run into this with 552 Series 2 and 1090 yet. There may be something out there. We just haven't encountered it yet. And thanks for watching. And in the next video, I'll be doing a 1090 installation of the disc upgrade.